Pavlina Show. We are here in the amazing, magical, wonderful apartment of LOREEN Arbus. How are you doing today?
I'm so happy you're here. Thank you. I just got back from 3 months out of the country.
Yes.
And I'm charged, ready to do more.
Yeah.
I'm always high energy.
Yes, I know. I can tell. Your apartment is just like so fun, all the bright colors and everything. What like really inspired, just so we can like talk about this, what inspired your apartment?
Well, I love color.
Yeah.
And I love the juxtaposition of the unexpected.
Yes.
And I like to shock people into different realities, but I don't want them to feel uncomfortable.
Right.
I just want to move them.
Yes.
So they don't stay in that same predictable space, literally and figuratively. So part of it is really because I love to entertain, but I want people to feel more alive and experience things that they don't necessarily have, that they haven't experienced before.
Yeah.
So I create, environments that are provocative.
Right. And I think you definitely mastered it. That was great. So I think the first time we met actually was at the Gracie Awards, and you had said that you liked my dress. It was my very first Gracie Awards, I think 2 years ago. 2? Yes, yeah. So that was just so great. I remember thinking I loved your style because I think you were wearing like a bright red dress or something, and it was like.
I immediately felt you were soul sister.
Oh yes.
That you have such a wonderful style, really your own person, and it's very organic.
Yeah.
Some people dress for attention, and it doesn't have anything to do with who they are.
Right.
They bought a label, they bought, into something.
Yeah.
But you were so clearly an original, are so clearly an original, which I love.
So you started in media really early, in high school actually. So how were your parents, were they really supportive and everything, or how did that go? And like, how were the kids? Because I know I started in media pretty early, and the kids didn't really get it. You know what I mean? They were just kind of like, oh, radio, like what is that and everything. So how was it for you?
Well, I live and breathe media.
Yeah.
And my dad was in television and other media, music as well, as did some feature films as an executive. And he always said to me, Loreen, it doesn't matter to me what you do, which was so great. He said, as long as you love what you do, as long as you're happy.
Yeah.
Which is just the most wonderful guidance, non-guidance. And my mother didn't have that strong of influence in that regard, but yeah. I started out to be a dancer, a writer, and then moved into wanting to do more and I always was a writer. Right. But I started moving into other, diversifying beyond.
Yeah, definitely. You wrote for your high school newspaper, or magazine, correct?
I wrote. My first job was at Cosmopolitan Magazine. Yeah. I thought I was going to go to work at an investigative magazine, but Cosmo was the job I got.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was a really great experience. I worked under Helen Gurley Brown, and she is a legend, and she was just a lovely and inspiring human being. So open. She had such a great executive style. She had a little box right next to her door to her office, and it was for suggestions. And you could leave it as often as suggestions, as often as you wanted. What I loved was that she responded personally. She would write little notes and say why the idea you submitted was good or not good, why it would or wouldn't work in her opinion, which was great. It was a learning experience, and she was so open, and the hierarchy phenomenon just was gone.
Yeah.
It was one-on-one.
Definitely, that's amazing. Now I know your older sister, she had...
Born with cerebral palsy.
Yes.
And many other complications. She was blind, almost blind, we think, and very limited in what she could do.
Yeah, definitely. So how was that growing up? So I actually watched your TED Talk, and you were saying kind of like you were outsiders and everything.
Yes.
So just tell me how that was.
Well, I think that very often too little attention is paid to the siblings of somebody with disability. Right. And we are impacted profoundly when we have a brother or a sister who is isolated and ostracized. And we all become part of that phenomenon. And so for that reason, and because I was the only girl of my own religion in a school of a different religion, and because my mother was bipolar and schizophrenic and not pleasant for people to want to spend time around, she was and she wasn't. People didn't want to come to my house. I was really on the outside fending for myself and defending my sister. So it's influenced me in every way. It makes me not able to, but compelled to want to help people and to identify with those who aren't able to assimilate. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And you've actually done a lot for people with disabilities. What are some of those amazing things that you've done?
Well, I helped start something called the Media Access Office,
Yeah.
which has been around quite a long time, and it's in Los Angeles, and what it has as its mission is to increase awareness about people and their issues with disability and to get more people with disability hired. So it consults with all the different networks and with producers and directors and writers to try and increase the presentation of people with disability and the employment, and to make more accurate educate people about disability.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now, kind of going back into media and everything, and I know your TED Talk was actually for women and everything, which I thought was really cool. Oh, there's
Men, you can watch it too.
Oh yes, they can totally watch, but there are not many women actually in media or doing a lot of amazing things. Like, you were the first woman programming of like a network and everything. Like, that is amazing. So what would you say to young women in media to get them either involved or to get them heads in networks, or what would you tell them?
Well, confidence is just hugely important, which
Right.
is probably a little too obvious to say that, but I think that women especially, often, females often don't see enough in the way of examples that they can, and this is true for minorities, for people with disability, so that they can say, I can do that,
Right.
and understand and identify with success stories. Young women, I mean, I think that people should do whatever job you need to do,
Right.
and not stand on ceremony, but to be willing to risk keeping that job and moving on, learning everything you can learn. I think having as many skills as you can.
And I know a lot of women starting out in media, kind of like you were saying, don't really have that confidence. So what can, because I don't know, I find this a lot, like where, not really where I work, but just like when I go into places and I see different things, either they won't bring out ideas that they have, or like they'll just kind of sit back and just kind of chill, just like let everyone else do the talking. So what would you tell people that already have, they already have their jobs and like they're already working in media and everything? How would you tell them or inspire them, empower them, that kind of thing, to stand up and kind of put their job on the line, like you were saying?
Well, I think that women, females, need to be conscious about the fact that they apologize too much for their existence.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I hear a woman raise her hand in a room and say, excuse me, I just have one question. What is this? Excuse me, and
Yeah.
just. I have a question,
Yeah.
period. There's this kind of overly deferential approach that females take. So being assertive in a nice way, but
Right.
assertive, I think is really important. I was, about a year ago, I was at a tailor I go to, and they have about 7 different tailors that are Chinese
Right.
working there in all these different areas that each person can change, men and women. And I'm overhearing conversation. I don't know who it's attached to because I'm changing,
Right.
but I'm hearing, and I hear one woman after another saying, I know there's something wrong. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Maybe you can tell me what does it need? I would never go to a tailor to have an alteration made without saying, this needs to be shorter, this needs to be taken in here.
Right.
I mean, there's a kind of you have to know what you want
Yeah.
and ask for what you want. I was so, I've been so distressed over the years with people saying to me they want an interview.
Yeah.
If I do or don't have an opening for a job, regardless, just to have a meeting and to get acquainted. And they'll say to me, what do you think I should do? Well, I'm not sitting there interviewing them to help them chart their future. And, you know, I'm there to tell them what next steps there might be that would be logical to take based on what they want to do.
Yeah.
So, you know, having a strong sense of yourself.
Yeah, definitely. I've noticed that as well. Like, just kind of like in general scenes or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I'll be in school, or I'll just be like walking down New York or something, and women just apologize for like everything. And like I notice myself do it sometimes as well. Like I'll just be like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, you know, just like over everything.
Right,
I'm
right.
like, why is that? Like, why do you think that is? Like, I don't really see where men do it as much, I guess.
No,
but
not
yeah,
at all. No.
Yeah. So what do you
Well,
think?
I think women historically have not been given the same, not had the same opportunities, and not made to feel that they deserve to be treated equally. So rather than uproot a system, they try and work their way into fitting into it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I think it's very unfortunate.
Yeah, no, definitely. Because I'm like all about, you know, being not being aggressive, but like just being assertive and everything. You know what I mean? Kind of like standing up for yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's very important. So with the recent elections and everything, I find it very interesting. Everything that's going on, like just it's fascinating.
Oh my
I'm also
goodness
kind of annoyed.
gracious me.
Like,
Oh, it's very upsetting,
Yeah.
very distressing.
Yes.
What bothers me more than anything in the world is when you think about children growing up at whatever ages they might be, where their thinking processes are being formulated.
Right.
And to see how many lies are told. And even though journalists are calling our candidates on many of the lies, the fact that they would lie over and over and over and never apologize, well, one apology,
Right.
but basically no apologies. It's just a way of being. Well, I was brought up just the opposite, to be truthful and, you know, and to be truthful.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that. And I'm sick at heart about the lack of standards, the lack of propriety, and this thing of lying that's making me nuts. That's what I want to deal with in my next TED Talk.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I think everyone would be very excited about that because that's always so so fascinating to watch those. Yeah, it's very annoying with the whole lying and everything, and it's also I feel like giving media a very bad rep of like, oh, you can't trust the media because they're biased, or you know, I just think everyone should be
And aren't sufficiently investigative.
right.
I
Yeah.
mean, why have we not gotten into more deeply what were the very questionable business practices of one of the candidates?
Right.
Why haven't the journalists been able to go deeper?
Yeah. Exactly.
There are so many different things that I think they're not pursuing. And we need someone to interpret for us
Right.
what we're hearing. I think that CNN is doing a very good job with their coverage.
Yeah.
Very good. And there are a lot more women now
Yeah.
covering the elections and other, but there's a complacency nevertheless.
Right. Definitely. But I know with millennials, like they really want things right away, which is kind of like what you were saying, like,
Yes.
oh, where's my producership, or where's my big talk show host kind of thing. You know what I mean? So, what would you tell millennials about just being patient and
Tranquila.
Tranquila, yes. Oh my gosh, yes. Speaking of tranquila, I know you're really into tango and like just kind of doing the tango. What got you?
Argentine tango, not ballroom.
Oh, okay.
Big difference.
Wait, hold on. Yeah, what's the difference? Because I don't know the
Well,
difference.
Argentine tango is the foremother of all tangos.
Right.
It's totally different stylistically. It's the difference between modern dance and hip hop.
Right.
I mean, they're worlds apart.
Okay.
Not modern dance, ballet and hip hop. Argentine tango is about the meeting of the inner person, and there's a closeness. I mean, it's very filled with pyrotechnics when performed, but when danced socially and when performed properly, it's about connection.
Right.
Whereas I find that ballroom dancing is about histrionics and dancing the tango this way. What is that about? Where you have your
Yeah.
chest and your head back, and you're not connected to the person with the heart. I admire anyone who's disciplined and puts the hours of effort into what we see on the dancing shows.
Right.
They're amazing,
Yeah.
but I don't feel it.
Right.
I just appreciate how much work it took to do what they do. Whereas with Argentine tango, it's so much about emotion and feeling.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's so cool to do. I used to do ballet all the time, and I always just had like this connection. I know it's not like a two-person kind of connection, but like I just had a weird connection to like ballet, and like I just loved doing it and everything. And I think you said in your TED Talk, or I thought I saw it somewhere, that you dance like every day. Is that like your mantra? Like you have to do that?
Every night of my life, for years and years and years, I will leave a black tie event and have worn something that I know I can take this off or this off and add this in the taxi and be ready to go to dance, even if it's just one set before the place closes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, people, they know I'm off and running into the night.
Yes, that's amazing. Well,
off and dancing into the night.
Yes, exactly. Thank you so much for talking to me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.